Hi, everyone.
The daily life of Russian aristocracy in the Pavlovsk Romanov residence. It's a town which emerged in the 18th century along with the construction of the Romanov residence. That's how it worked back then. First, you build a residence, and then the town grows around it, where a lot of people that deal with maintenance and service. So everyone moves in there. And Pavlovsk is one of, well, I wouldn't like to say like really off-beaten spots. It's not exactly true, but it's traditionally less, it used to be less visited by world tourists. Well, because there's Peterhof, and speaking of Peterhof, in September, I'm taking it to Peterhof for 5 tours with virtual tours. So every Saturday we'll be heading to Peterhof every Saturday night. And there's also Catherine Palace with the Amber Room. So Pavlovsk is that doesn't really have that, but Pavlovsk has this, the huge park. Pavlovsk has this, the amazing, classic architecture, the vastness, the 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 green, and whatnot. So, but this is different. This time we are not focusing on the Romanovs. This time we are focusing on something else. So this is the exhibition on the third floor of the palace. And we haven't been there before because this exhibition has nothing to do with the Romanovs. This is the creation already of the Soviet period. This is the chain of rooms, like quite a lot of rooms actually, because the palace is quite big. There are quite a lot of rooms. And could you please close the door? Thanks so much. And these rooms basically trace the history of the development of aristocratic summer estates in Russia. And this exhibition spans, let's say, 150, 170 years or so. It's like a little bit the end of the 18th century and actually up until early 20th century. So that's quite a lot to talk about. I hope 2 episodes, 2 tours will be enough. So the second episode is already on my website, anayaga.com, just in case. So, and here the Pavlovsk Museum just has this idea of let us feel what it was like as a guest. Imagine you're a guest, you're in somewhat late 18th century, end of the 1700s, and you are invited to the home of an aristocrat, Russian aristocrat. So they will not be opening doors for you, right? It's their valet that's going to open the door. And this is the valet's room, hence the name. So valets were basically the PAs in general of aristocrats all around the world, not only in Russia, obviously. And Russia was not really the trendsetter. They picked it up all from the European courts, mainly French and the British and German, obviously. So I think many of you are very well familiar with what it was like. So valets would be also opening doors for you. They would be taking your name, and then you will have to wait in the next room. Well, until you would be invited to the study, to the room where the person you are going to visit would be waiting for you. What we have in the valet room, don't expect to see anything remarkable. But so obviously there wouldn't be opulent interiors, well, if any at all. But there are quite a lot of things that we so often overlook because, okay, well, this is just a schlaf bunk. It's like a bunk, right? And the valets, the interesting thing about the work of a valet that it was 24/7, because anytime during the day or during the night, uh, well, this aristocrat might need you. Well, every morning when they wake up, they're gonna need you because valet is going to help them put on, well, take off their morning gown, put on, well, dress up, do the hair, wash everything. And during the night, you could be needed too. So the valets on duty would be sleeping on this bed, and it's not a king size bed, it's a sofa. So you could quickly, just by hearing the bell pull would be in the room. You will see the bell pull. Well, they would just have to jump up, take the candelabra, right? Take the candles and go. There was no electricity at that point, obviously, so there are a lot of candles, and there would be a lot of candelabras everywhere. This is the portrait. You will see a lot of portraits in every room. There would be the portraits of the ruling monarchs at those times, of their respective periods that the rooms cover, and also those will be different aristocrats that lived in those days. We will be focusing on some of them as the both tour go. But this one is important because this is the portrait of Emperor Paul, who ruled exactly at the turn of the 19th century, end of 1700s, 1796 and up until 1801. And Pavlovsk, why it's so important, because Pavlovsk is named after him. It was his estate. It was the birthday from his mom, Catherine the Great, well, for his wedding, and it's all about Paul, Pavlovsk, hence the name. It's all about him. And the museum was inspired by the entourage of Emperor Paul when they created this exhibition. And it took them dozens and dozens of years to put the collection together, because this is a very meticulously prepared exhibition. They obviously, you will see, it's let's say it's not a memorial room taken from some estate and brought here as a time capsule. No, it would be just furniture purchased in antique stores. It would be some items that would be donations to museums, or there are a lot of interesting stories about some of those exhibits that I will be sharing with you. So but the inspiration came from Emperor Paul and his everyday life. But obviously, we are here talking not about the royals; we're talking about aristocrats in general. So in this room, we have some paintings, just the views of Pavlovsk in general. Again, a lot of candles everywhere. So the idea would be that in the middle of the night, when your master is waiting for you, right, you just jump, you pick the candles and you go. It's all quite functional, because here, as you see, under this bunk you have drawers, and still, even though it's quite simple, it's quite I would say plain design, it's not really too plain. Look at these beautiful legs that look like harps, and it's all functional, and it's still functioning, all of it. It's still in a very good condition. So I would say even there's beauty even in such minimalism. Obviously, well, there wouldn't be any golden details. It's mainly brass that is used for the decoration of such type of furniture. And by the way, this type of furniture is not really that. I would say it's quite rare, because given the history, the turbulent history of the 20th century in Russia, a lot of furniture, even way more beautiful and expensive, just perished in fires or were sold abroad from of so many auctions. Well, and obviously, this type of furniture could have been easily lost somewhere or destroyed. So, but it's here in the museum, and it's good to have it. So we are just also, I would say, having a quick look of what the work of a very important worker kind of valid, what it was like. It tells us a lot about how things were back then. This one is exactly that desk where the valet will be taking notes of the guests. They would be in charge of a special journal where they would be registering every guest, when the guest came, when the guest left. Depending on the event, depending on the time, and also the reign of a certain monarch, well, they would also sometimes register what a guest was wearing. This is an interesting bureau. Actually, here you wouldn't, well, okay, here you see the drawers, but what is this? Like, okay, we have the small drawers here, but what are you going to do? Here, this was folded. And the idea was you needed to jot things down really quickly because you're serving and you are, well, they're waiting for you. So you just quickly unfold it, you, well, write what you need, and then you go on with your duties. The only thing is that, okay, but well, what about the functionality of all the other furniture, like all the other elements here? Well, provided you have a key, you will be able to open another section. This is the photos from the museum website. And once you open one section, other sections would be able, well, you would be able to open too. So in fact, this, well, it was just a journal, right? They just registered the guests, but that information was quite important, so it had to be guarded. So yeah, even just plain bureau of a valet matters and has a lot of secrets. So the guests, after they are registered, they need to wait. So they would be taken to a room, a hall. It wasn't called a waiting hall. Very often it would be some portrait rooms, and that's what you have here. It's a portrait room. It's not. It could be different kinds of rooms, but portrait rooms were quite common. Well, it was a, I think it was quite nice. So you're waiting, and while you're waiting, you're studying the portraits around you or paintings around you, and that's how you may just not notice how long you have to wait, because sometimes it, well, depending on how important guest you were, yeah, it could take long, because aristocrats, well, they usually took time. Well, they would take time, to do things. And I like the wall decorations here. Actually, it's just it's painted walls with a template. So it was cheap. It was I would say it was I would say quite a cheap way to decorate a room. Yet it looked quite beautiful, and it was also efficient, quite quick. It was not yet the opulent room for big events. Could you please turn the lights as well? Lights. Thanks so much. Yeah, that's way better. Thank you. It's getting dark here so quickly. You just the moment it's beautiful sunset, and then in a blink of an eye it's already pitch dark. So we are just about to switch to the pitch dark phase. And as I said, it's not the recreation of a, but in most cases it's not the recreation of a particular room, but in this case the museum was inspired by an interior that unfortunately perished in times of the Second World War. And this is the estate, a summer estate that belonged to the Arakcheyev family. Count Arakcheyev used to own the place. There is a very, very poor photo, and it's the only photo that survived, apart from just the drawings and sketches. And the museum just came into possession of some of the items that were saved from that estate. And well, that's why the museum decided to make up this portrait room and fill it with some of the elements from the Arakcheyev estate, such as this bronze mantelpiece decoration, the clock. It used to belong to Arakcheyev family, so we know the provenance of this item, and that's what makes it quite special. Paintings, the portrait. So this is portrait of Peter the Great, and it's a very precious one. It's not the best one. You will see it's quite, you have seen definitely, if you have seen my previous tours, we have seen a way better portraits of Peter the Great, but this one is precious because it was made during his lifetime. And most probably Peter was actually a model for it. Not necessarily, we're not 100% sure. The museum is not 100% sure, but it definitely belongs to the workshop of the very first Russian professional artists at the times of when the Russian art, early 18th century, was, I would say, just in its infancy. So that's Peter the Great, the founder of the city, and I would say the first emperor of Russia. Other elements are of the same period. We can say this is early 1800s, 1800, 1810s. Another important portrait here is portrait of Catherine the Great. And well, as you know, Catherine the Great is the one who gave this residence to Emperor Paul, her son. And this is 1763, it's written there, right? So 1763 is the year when Catherine would just seize the power. As you know, well, it's shortly after she had seized the power, she took over the throne from her husband, and she ruled for for 32 years. And we know her as the founder of the Hermitage and everything. And it was very important to have portraits of crowned monarchs in your estate, because you're aristocrats, you serve to the monarchs, and every estate had to have portraits, and you would have to be showing it off. So that's why in the portrait room, to have rooms to have portraits of the rulers are essential. Not necessarily because you like them, but because you have to like them, because you have to show the admiration and the support. So that's the idea. And well, imagine that you are invited for a dinner. Basically, I'm going with the narrative of the museum and also the chain of rooms that exactly how the rooms are located in the palace. So the next room is the dining room, the gala dining room, and we're going to spend quite some time here. As you can see, it's not a big palace, so it's not, again, as it's not the imperial residence, it's just the aristocratic household. And but there are already, well, more than 10 people can definitely be accommodated, and even more. Normally there could be floor, or there could be tables added, like here, if there were too many guests. Normally what would be done, they would take advantage of their planning. Up until late 19th century, the only way to build houses with the construction, I would say, engineering advancement available at that time, until the well, I would say the improvement of metal constructions and the implementation of the the metal box, it would be what do you call it, the enfilade rooms, right? So the chain of rooms. So it was very typical, it was quite common to actually have the tables put together just through several rooms. It was just the enfilade, like a chain of tables. So in fact, there could be quite a lot of people accommodated for an event easily. This one we have quite, I would say, quite a modest table, not too many people. Portraits, of course, candles, of course, because there were no because there was no electricity at that point. And it's important to remember that the party would last just as long as many candles you have, and as fast or as slow your candles burn. Depending on the size of the room, depending on the well, several other factors, it was possible to renew the candles, but not always. Like you could not really replace the candles that hang in the big chandelier above people's heads. That's not the case. It's not really the case here, but in general, yes, it was an issue. There would be ways to just turn on to lit the candles. There would be special fuse, but with regards to renewing candles, yeah, that's not so easy. So what we have in here, we have again views of Pavlovsk and period porcelain and glass. So we are now in somewhat 1810s, 1820s, around that period. It's not so strict, I would say, but something around that. And what we see here is the Imperial Porcelain Factory manufacturer. We know that, well, in the 18th century, the secret of porcelain making was finally discovered. And this is when the Serber, the Meissen manufacturer, so they were the first ones to produce porcelain and to totally revolutionize the market. Then it would be also the Russian Empire. They would also finally develop the recipe for porcelain making, and ever since then, ever since early 18th century, the Romanovs and Russian nobility would be mad about collecting porcelain, but always there would be porcelain that you would just put in the cupboard and look at it as an exhibit, or well, there would be also the porcelain sets that you would be actually eating from. And usually it would be the cheaper ones you would be eating on a regular basis, on an everyday basis, and well, there would be something that you would pull out for a special event. Here we have something quite ordinary, and this is the copy. We will have. I found photos on the website of Pavlovsk because obviously, yeah, I just well, my videographer could not approach this table. I would say much closer. So here we have the code. Well, it's not the right thing to say it's a copy. It's the okay. Imperial Porcelain Factory was inspired to create the one of the popular sets from the Nast porcelain manufacturer in France, and well, French porcelain was affordable, and it would have been affordable for an aristocratic family, but not for each aristocratic family. So there were some families that preferred to spend their money a bit more wisely. So for them, there was a cheaper option, porcelain made in Russia, and that's exactly the case. And here we have, I would say, a lot of familiar items and some quite interesting ones that we are not really that used to. So here we have also some glass. So what we've got in here, we have the plates, we have the bread basket that imitates the basket exactly, right? We have some interesting things here. What is that? Well, that's for the ice cream. We'll talk more about it. That's interesting. What would this be for? It looks like a skirt. Well, we will see that too. You must, well, I'm sure you've already figured it out. Let's go one by one. This one is for the salt. Yeah, it's just for the salt. And it would be placed between two plates. I know that in some cultures, it's, I would say it's a bit insulting to well, to salt or to season your food after you've already served it, just not to hurt the feelings of the chef or whatnot. But it was totally fine here, and well, it would be just placed between the two plates, so each would have their individual well, pot for salt. But there are also singular ones, but it's just an interesting thing. So it's not for the salt and pepper; it's just for the salt. You can see that this has been it definitely has been used. This set was used on a daily basis with this family when it was purchased, so it was in such condition. And I find it a lot more remarkable to actually see it with all these chips and cracks, because this was used at some point, so this object has a memory. Also, we have glass items here. Glass manufacture, especially in the 19th century, got, I would say, reached a very good level, and there would be a lot of colored glass produced and in different shapes, quite, I would say, interesting ones. Obviously, such irregular shapes would be a lot more expensive, but anyway, the glass was quite expensive at that point. Later, closer to the end of the 19th century, it was quite affordable, and I would say an average family could afford it. Remember I told you that we also have some interesting stories of some exhibits, some interesting provenance. So here I really like this interesting glasses. They could be used for some alcohol, well, not for vodka, obviously, or some punch. And these glass, it was purchased in the late Soviet period. I was told by the museum. So when I was there for my accreditation as a tour guide, so we had a tour there done by one of the curators of the exhibition. So we know it firsthand. So in the end of the, like in 1980s, the museum purchased it from a lady a local lady from Leningrad, and she told them that her family had purchased it at a sale from the Hermitage Museum. So in the Soviet period, when everything was nationalized, the Bolsheviks would be just selling a lot of items that used to belong to the Winter Palace, to the Romanovs' residence. They would just selling it to people, and this woman even had the receipt, and it had the Hermitage name on it. So the museum purchased something that must have been, well, I mean, it's no doubt that it belonged to the Romanovs. So any Romanov could have been holding these glosses. Isn't it incredible? Well, stories like that really give me goosebumps. I think they're just the most remarkable stories at all. And I like the designs, really nice. Um, Obviously there's different codes and numbers written there, but they are in a very good condition. So this is an interesting element. This is for dessert, somewhat, it was something kind of a panna cotta or a pudding. The pudding with the chocolate pudding was quite popular. Expensive. Chocolate was expensive, cocoa was expensive, so that's definitely not an average home. But again, what I'm talking about, in that period, like first half of the 19th century, I would say 95% of the population of the entire country, let alone 97%, would be the serfs and peasants. So we're talking here about, I don't know, 0.5% and 1% of the population of St. Petersburg. So this would be done for dessert with some heavy cream, and well, chocolate version was quite popular, like chocolate panna cotta. This is an interesting item here. It looks like a skirt. It's in fact was used to serve well, like this one, an ice bucket for champagne, right? So this is normally for champagne, and this would be for the shots. It's like the way the shots would be served. The shots would be placed here, vodka shots, the small ones, they would be placed here, and they would be all in ice. So because vodka had to be consumed really cold, and the vodka itself would be cold, and the shots would be cold. So that was the way it had to be done. And this would be for champagne, again filled with ice. And speaking of ice, we have another item here that I already mentioned, the big bucket for this one for this one for vodka shots, and the other one is for champagne glasses, for wine glasses. The other one I'll show you from there. Yeah, this one. So the glasses would be just placed like that and brought to the table. The other item, like a big bucket, this is used for ice cream. There would be like 3 sections. You could, I think I have an also close-up photo. The museum has quite a lot of photos to share. We'll see. So there, yeah, very good. So in fact, so this is kind of a lead. If you replace it, you will actually see that on this level, like there is a cup inside, like a big plate inside. You could take it out, and underneath that plate, or kind of a container, porcelain, there was ice, and in this pot or container there was ice cream, and this was just the lid. So, and also ice would be placed inside this lid, so from both sides ice cream would be nicely kept really nice and cold. That was the idea. Ice cream was Romanovs liked ice cream a lot, and I once tried to eat ice cream just like Nicholas II liked it. I think in my Instagram I even have a reel about it. So Romanovs liked ice cream a lot, and a lot of Russian monarchs had sweet tooth, such as Empress Elizabeth, and Nicholas himself as well. But we are way far from Nicholas II at the moment. So I suggest having the Q&A now, and then get back to to the study of 1810s. Okay, yeah. Let me know if you have any questions. The chat is back on. I know, sometimes I tend to skip the Q&As, but since we've been talking about I would say, such detailed things, I thought it would be a good idea just to see if you have questions, because we may forget after all. Let me know if you have any questions. So I don't want to be spending too much time in each and every room, but every now and then I believe there are quite a lot of things that might interest us because they look different, and there are a lot of I would say quite mundane things from back then that would really amaze us. So such things are always the most interesting to me. You love the dinnerware set. Yeah, it was a nice dinnerware, absolutely. Again, I like it with all those cracks and chips and whatnot. I think it looks more charming this way. Dolly, you like the dishes. You have the salt dish and more. Yes, there was a gravy dish too. I think I showed it in one of the pigs. Yeah, well, it's not really that different from what we have now. So we still have the gravy dishes. We have jam dishes. Yeah, all these things. Of course, yeah, there was a gravy dish there with a spoon, with the porcelain spoon, and with the hole for the spoon. Yes, absolutely. But this is quite typical, so it's not something quite unusual. I haven't seen the ice cream dishes in nowadays, and I haven't seen the salt dishes same way. You think your set is already vintage? I wouldn't. Well, I have no doubt. I wouldn't be surprised. Definitely. I know if you look more carefully, I'm sure you'll find something like really antique, maybe even something Roman underneath your house. Because, well, I mean, in Israel, you just need to dig, and then you will already just strike it gold. Okay, let's go back to the study of 1810s. So I hope that's the way we do it here. I'm sorry, it's still this new ways of doing things with this upgrade. Still a bit of a learning curve. I know I've been doing it for so long, but so the study of 1810s. Well, the study, it's that room where let's say we're going back to that story of you are being invited to a home of an aristocrat, and so you waited in the portrait room. Then you would be most probably invited to the study for the meeting, and then depending on how well the meeting went, or depending on the plans, you could have been invited actually to the dining room. So the dining room, in fact, since it's just the recreation of the interior, so it could be in different ways. So we do it. It's just like we go in the museum. So the study of 1810s. What we have here is a lot of furniture, and it doesn't surprise us that the furniture looks very similar, that it looks like one big furniture set. However, if you know, the thing is that up until like 19th century, there wasn't really such thing as furniture sets, unless they were obviously made to measure for Louis the 14th. But in general, it wasn't really common practice to make furniture sets. So it was totally fine in the most exquisite homes of Europe to have a very differently looking, quite sporadic furniture of different colors and different styles. It wasn't really seen as a bad taste. No, it was just okay, because that's how it used to be. But in the 19th century, and closer to, well, I would say, like 1810s, 1820s, and further on, it would be just even more and more common. It would be furniture sets already. The interesting thing is that, well, one would think that all this furniture we see in this room was made in Europe, But in fact, no, it's obviously it was inspired by some European French manufacturers, but this is the furniture made in Russia. Why so? Why am I so sure about it? You remember Emperor Paul, right? Who got this estate from his mom. So Emperor Paul, when he came to power, he issued a lot of laws. There were a lot of gazillions of laws that he signed, and one of them would be the ban for foreign furniture. That was aimed at he aimed at basically stimulating Russian furniture makers, and it worked. So the Russian furniture manufacture started to grow really quickly, and the quality was also very good because there was a lot of good wood in Russia. You just you leave home, you turn left, you turn right, and you see a bunch of nice nice trunks. I'm joking, obviously, but let's have a look at this. We were told a lot of stories about. I remember, like yesterday, you see two, I would say, very similar things. So a chair and a kind of a table, and they look very similar, but they're different. This is poplar. This is Karelian birch tree. And this one is way more expensive than this one, but both were quite widespread. It was a big fad. The empire style furniture and the Karelian birch tree was a big fad. But if you couldn't afford a birch tree, poplar could be a good could be a good compromise. And the Karelian birch tree is quite rare. It's not just like any birch tree you can find in Russia. We have many. Yes, it's not the same. It's different. It grows. It's endemic to one region, Karelia region. And by the way, speaking of Karelia region, we will be the entire tour that is to happen in about 1 hour from now. A little less than that. It's going to be about Helsinki and Russian immigration. So it's also there's a lot about that area, and the here it's also quite an unusual thing. Well, it's not really common for us now, but here we're looking at a big fad. So after they already understood how to make good furniture, they would come up with interesting creative design details, ideas such as embroidery and quite ornate shapes of the armrests and the backs. Well, this is embroidery, and this is the 1800s embroidery that was just made part of this closet. It's not a table, it's a closet. That's the table, that's the furniture set. And it's well, they try to be very, I would say, well, close to the original, right? The swans. It's very nice. I mean, it's very nice to look, and we were also told that these are quite comfy chairs. Also, given the kind of dresses that women were wearing, they were quite comfy. They gave you good support. They didn't let you just sit sluggish like that. You wouldn't be doing that, obviously. So, but they would support your back, and you wouldn't really be that tired after sitting in this chair. And well, look at this beautifully carved swan. But well, the swan is okay, but then the legs of the chair, however, would not look like the legs of the swan. But it was totally fine. Nobody was confused about it. No, it was okay. Just like that. Oh, I pause here. Sorry. There you go. That's another bird. I'm not even sure which kind of bird it is, but these are definitely not the legs of the bird. But this is also fine. Nobody was I would say appalled or shocked by seeing such mutations of animals. What we have here, this is the desk, a very typical desk that you could buy at any furniture shop. Well, no IKEA at that time, but it's quite functional. First of all, well, obviously these big glass or plastic case was not there. This is just for museum purposes to protect it from dust and stuff. But let's look at the edges. They're all softened, right? And that was done just to prevent the unnecessary bruises. Well, and with kids, well, kids can find any angle, kids can find any any spot to hurt themselves with, but in general, it was all really thought through, and it was handmade. There was no really big machines that could make it. It's not really mass production. So every furniture set, every table was produced manually. It was lathed, all that. And that's why there's no identical furniture set at all. Let's move on. Well, again, they got creative. The further it went, the more creative it got. So here we have kind of a harp or a lyre. I'm not sure. It serves as a leg of a table. Yeah, it doesn't really like it doesn't really match like just the style in general, but it's okay as well. And it's well, it was quite ornate. There's the press papier. Well, I would say with regards to the ink sets, they didn't really invent anything new. It would be the ink set, it would be the quails, it would be the press papier, and it would be sand to help the ink dry. So here I think it's quite the same. This one is interesting, by the way. This is not porcelain. This is the milk glass. So it's white glass. It's not transparent, and this would be used for small candles. And well, a small candle will be placed in there. It wouldn't make it too hot so that the glass would not crack, and this would be the soft light in the room. This is how the room could be nicely illuminated. It wouldn't give you too much light, but it would create this very soft light, well, good for your eyes. The big issue was with the fireplaces. Obviously, fireplaces were essential as well as stoves, but with the fireplaces, with the open fire in the dark, it would really hurt your eyes sometimes. So that's why they somehow try to come up with some screens just to protect your eyes from, I would say, too much light. And here it was nice, and it looked, I would say, quite lovely. Another room, I think it's going to be the last room we will be seeing today. This is the bedroom of 1810s, 1820s. So let's say this is the bedroom where a valet would be coming in the morning to help the master prepare for the day. And also this is where the valet would be informing our nobleman about the visitor. So, well, yeah, it's 1810s, 1820s. We're still somewhat early 19th century anyway. And this bedroom has a lot of zones. That's the thing of the early 19th century, the zoning. It wouldn't be just the bedroom with the bed, and that's it. It would be a lot of things that one could be doing here. And I'm not sure if it's a feng shui. I don't think so. I think that's too early for it. Other than that, it's quite nicely planned. And yeah, one of the so this bedroom, the creation of this bedroom was also inspired by the Arakcheyev estate. There are some items from that estate also used in this room. They were not able to save the entire collection. They were not able to save the building of the estate, but at least some items that, well, we have. It's just very few, which is very sad, but nevertheless. So this is the place. Well, this is a lady's room. Well, you know that in every estate there would be some part of the palace or house given to him and to her, like for him and for her. So this is her room. This is a dressing table. She would have, well, her morning routine here by the table. And this is also where she would be helped to do her hair and stuff. So also by this table, she could be having some tea or coffee. Coffee was quite popular ever since Peter the Great times, before Peter the Great, before early 18th century. It would be consumed only as medicine. I'm not sure what kind of medicine, maybe. Well, but anyway, so this is where things would be going. Further on, we have another zone here. So, well, the fireplace is essential because, again, even it's a summer residence, by the way, but you know that even in summer residence there would be fireplaces and stoves because it could get quite cold and also quite humid. There should always be kind of a red corner. The corner, red means beautiful, right? In Russian there is a word красивый. It's the same root as the word red, красный. So for us, red and beautiful are one and the same word, one and the same root. And this is the kiosk with icons. I would say traditionally aristocrats were quite religious. This one is for the handiwork, for all sorts of crafts, which obviously aristocratic women, well, it was a big hobby of many. At that point in early 19th century, there wasn't really much to do for women or for young ladies. So yeah, handicrafts was what everyone did. So the bed and what you can find around the beds. Well, this is the miracle lamps. It's candles, obviously, the miracle lamps, the miracle, it's a French invention. Again, so with this, the plaques would be made from porcelain, or it also could be glass, depending on many things. And again, they would also protect the eyes. They could also sometimes intensify the light, and it was quite convenient that sometimes, especially when the candles are lit for a long time, there's a lot of wax and it's dripping, so it wasn't really that convenient to hold it from below, but she could hold it from here, from the top, and go like this. That was quite convenient, so thus you wouldn't be burned, and that's why the sticks are very long. That was a good option. This is, by the way, that's a tapestry. That's a copy of an Italian painting of Madonna, and that was a present. It used to be the exhibit of the Arakcheyev estate, and it was saved and placed in this room. Also, you see these bases, right? Actually, well, this is kind of a bedside table. There are no bedside tables, but you could open. I think here you can see this kind of opening. Obviously, no one opened it for us, but with this, you could open it, and there are things you could put some things in those niches. That was quite convenient. The beds, this is quite a rare thing to have a bed. It's not a ceremonial kind of bed like you would have in the Louvre or in the Pavlovsk estate, the big blue opulent gorgeous bed. No, it's quite a functional bed where people actually slept, and thus it's quite precious to have it, because very utilitarian things would not really be taken care of, and many beds basically perished in the Soviet times and even before that. So it's quite a rare thing to have. And look at this. This is the bell pull. So this is the bell pull that she would be pulling first thing after she opens her eyes in the morning, and when she's ready to get up from the bed, she would be she would probably have some tea or coffee, and it would be just tea for one, a coffee for one, and she would be sitting on her bed and placing her legs not on the cold floor, but on this very, very soft, fluffy, cozy woolen rug. This one is the original early 19th century rug, and we were told it was kind of waxed to protect it from all sorts of bugs, and just to keep it like shiny, so it's waxed, but actually it's nice and fluffy, and well, it felt like paradise, you know. Then again, so remember that table for handicrafts, like big, small, not big, small table for handicrafts. Again, you can see this softer corners here, no sharp angles, so less injuries. And so the photos from the website, if you open that lid, that's what you can see. A lot of smaller boxes, really nice. I mean, it looks really cute. And this is where you could just keep your anything you needed just for handicrafts, all sorts of things. Goodness gracious, I can't really come up with anything. This is the cushion for the needle pad, and it was foldable. You could just fold it, open and fold just like this. So that's quite, I think it's actually quite ingenious. And this is for knitting, well, for whatever. You could keep it like that, and that's the best way to store it. And I think this type of things you could find everywhere. This wasn't invented in Russia, obviously. It was made in Russia because there was a ban for a long time, for at least over a decade, just not to import the furniture. And well, that probably was a good decision, because they learned to make a good furniture quite quickly. I think this is where we wrap this up. So I'm going to, yeah, and which gives us enough content for the second episode, which is already scheduled, by the way. So let's do it this way. What I'm going to do now, well, keep your questions coming. The chat, I hope I have enabled the chat. Yes, I have. Let me share with you the link for the next tour. On my website, you can find all the links for this weekend, and some tours for the upcoming weekend too. So the next episode is on August 2nd. There you go. And let me share with you the link. Give me a second. And also I'll be sharing the links for tonight. Yeah, there you go. Did you say what pieces of china the lady sold to the museum? It wasn't the china. And no, I can't, Dolly Joy. It wasn't the china. It was the glass, the glasses, the small glass for punch, maybe for wine, for red wine. It's hold on a second. I'll show it to you. Wait a minute. This one's over here. This one's. This one's. So these ones were purchased from a lady whose maybe parents, I'm not sure, grandparents had purchased it in the early Soviet period from a sale in the Hermitage Museum. Yeah, the glassware. Yeah, the glasses. It's just the glassware. I don't know how many items were there altogether. I don't know that. I don't remember that. Thank you, Dole. I'm happy you like the presentation. So the glassware, the dishware, the big porcelain set, it all was purchased from someone, from somebody's collections. And I would say almost all of it was the purchases from antique stores, from private collections, sometimes the donations. Oh, thank you so much, Sharon. I don't really know a lot of terms and names of dishware, but I know how it was used. Thank you so much. I'm happy you enjoyed the tour. I'm happy that you found it quite interesting. I mean, it's about the details, right? It's all these nice details about those everyday items. Hi, Jan. It was nice. Nice to have you with us. I didn't know you joined. Sorry. Thank you so much for dropping by, and I'm happy you enjoyed it. So the links that I shared in the beginning, and I usually share in the end too, there are going to be 2 more tours tonight. The next one is in, I believe, 30 minutes from now. Yeah, in 30 minutes from now. And then in another 30 minutes, going to be the 4th one. So I'm talking about Russian immigration after the revolution in Finland. And then the final episode of Oranienbaum Romanov Residence tomorrow, 2 live walks in Batumi, including a sunset and the crafts market visit. Then Misha and I will be talking about the Soviet school life. And then I'm wrapping up with the walls and gates of the old city of Jerusalem. And next weekend, we're starting a new series of walks. That is the walks on the walls of the old city, to have a better look of what is actually behind the walls, because so far we've been walking only around the walls, like beating around the bush. Yeah, and on Tuesday, we're cooking the ajar and hachapuri in a local family with my friend and colleague Galia. And it's going to be another dish. It's a surprise. It's a surprise. Thank you, Joanne. I'm happy you enjoyed it. Cindy says it's very interesting. You've never seen a double salt dish. I've never seen a double salt dish, but I remember there was also a single ones. I don't know why it was so important to have yeah, so everyone had their own salt dish. But I guess there's also something about the money, because salt for a long time was very expensive, right? Roman soldiers used to pay salary with salt. Hence the word salary. It comes from the word salt in the English language. And not only. So maybe there was also about that we have so much salt that anyone could have their own salt dish. I'm not sure. They have a small collection of individual crystal salt dishes. I didn't know that. Wow. Nice. Yeah, they're always so nice and cute with small salt dishes and small, teeny tiny salt silver spoons. Yeah, it's so cute. I didn't know. Thank you for sharing. So, my dears, it's time to wrap this up. I will see you in 30 minutes from now, even earlier, for another premiere. Goodness gracious. So many premieres basically every time. Every weekend I come up with a couple of premieres. Yeah. So I don't know why. Maybe it's just another whimsy. I don't know, honestly. But again, that set was originally made in France. It was the French design that the Russian Imperial Porcelain Factory just copied. I should have said it was inspired, but yeah, it was a copy anyway. But it was it was just a cheaper version because it was made in Russia, but it was a very good quality, just more affordable. That was it. Okay, so this is time to wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining these diverse tours. Thank you for your support. My tours are free to join. Your support is extremely important to me. You could buy me coffees, you could send a PayPal donation. On my YouTube channel, you will find recordings as of the past weekend, and my website. You can find a complete set of links and some tours for the upcoming weekend, and even some more August tours are already up. Thank you so much for your interest in what I do. And if you missed the visit to Art Nouveau house built by Fyodor Shechtel, my favorite Art Nouveau architect in Moscow, the recording will be available earlier next week. Monday, Tuesday. Thank you so much, everyone. And bye-bye. Thanks.